Hello, everybody. This is Ahmed from Lotus Fitness, where we want you to move and exercise pain-free. Today, I have a very, very special guest, Dr. Cynthia Hay. Dr. Cynthia Hay, she is the author of Soft Health, a handbook for those who aren't motivated by killer workouts and strict diets. And she's also was a certified personal trainer. She's a low-force chiropractor. And honestly, just a great person. When you speak to her, when you talk to her, you can tell how genuine she is. And I've been lucky enough to actually meet her a couple of times. So today we're talking about pain relief and health without the extremes. But before we go any further, Dr. Cynthia, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Ahmed, and you're also a wonderful person. I'm so happy that we've been able to connect. It's been wonderful.
I appreciate those kind of words. And really, when I first heard that you were a low force chiropractor, I was like, what does that really mean? So I'm sure people who are watching this may have the same question. Do you mind expanding on that just a little bit?
Sure, yeah. The most common type of adjustments are called diversified or manual adjustments, and that's when people think of getting a twist and a crack in their neck or in their back, or a more deeper push in the middle of the back and a crack. That's your traditional diversified or manual adjusting. Low force that I do, I specialize in an instrument. I have it right here. It's called an activator. So I got to pull it right here. It's got these
Hmm.
two handles here and a spring load inside the instrument. And you bring the handles together, and this little point right here delivers a very quick impulse. What's different about it is it's quick and light. In physics, power is force times velocity. So if you have the velocity really, really quick, you can lower the force and still have enough power to move the joints into better alignment and reduce nerve interference and reduce pain and inflammation. So the activator is accomplishing the same goal that the diversified or manual adjustment does, but it's just doing it in a very specific, targeted, gentle way. So it's good to have those different methods available. Many people think, oh, if I don't want to be cracked, I can't go to a chiropractor or I can't get adjusted because I don't want someone to crack me. Well, you can. You see someone who does activator like myself, and you can have a relaxing experience. And if you prefer the cracking style, then you see someone who does manual. So there's different things available depending on what your preference is.
Gotcha. And you picked the perfect word, a relaxing experience. Everybody, I got to experience it firsthand, and let me tell you, uh, it was amazing. The activator, it's unlike anything that I've experienced before. But if you haven't experienced it, I would definitely recommend it. And then the way that she helps you get relaxed with her hands as well, with these cranial pressure points and all this stuff. It's really amazing. You have such a broad base of knowledge. I mean, how did you even get into chiropractic and where you are today?
Well, thank you for that, and I'll answer how I got into it. But I also just want to mention that, as you said, I do combine the low force adjustment with by hand soft tissue work, targeted massage, and cranial pressure points. So I do that because that's my style, and I find that that combination has worked the best for me. Not everyone who does activator might do that blend, but that's the blend that in 22 years of practice that I've found is most helpful for me and the majority of the people I work with. So that's why I do all of those. But how
Perfect.
I got into activator in general, my parents had been seeing a chiropractor for their back who used the instrument because they were of the sort who were concerned about being cracked. They felt a little nervous about it. So they had heard, oh, I could get adjusted with an instrument that's relaxing. I'll do that. So they tried it. They were getting great results. But I was having headaches. I was a teenager at the time. And they ended up mentioning it to our chiropractor, who then said, sometimes headaches can stem from misalignments in the neck. There can be shifts that are pressing on nerves that are then referring pain up. We should check her. And that really helped me, and nothing else was helping me. I was in high school, like popping Tylenols, and none of my friends had to take Tylenol. So I thought, this isn't seeming right. And then the medical doctor said, well, maybe you need glasses. And I got glasses, but the headaches had continued. So this was what helped me. And, then it planted the seed for me to go into it later. So. And then I
Yeah.
did. And my chiropractor encouraged me to. He said, yes, you can do this. And it's a great profession. So he was a mentor.
There you go. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you took this relationship that you had with your mentor. Now you're making it your own, and you're finding this perfect recipe, it sounds like, to help your clients. When people think chiropractic, or at least when I think chiropractic, I think the spine, right? I think helping
Mm-hmm.
people with back pain, neck pain. Is that the majority of your patients? Do you see that people come to you because they have back pain, neck pain, anything like that, or what do you see? What do you find?
Yeah, that is usually the biggest thing that brings people in is neck pain, back pain, headaches. That's the bread and butter of it. But sometimes people find interesting other positive benefits just because as it calms the nervous system
Mm,
to align the spine. It takes pressure off different nerves where the spine is misaligned. It's creating friction around the disc and nerve, and you get a focal inflammation, which then presses on the nerves and causes pain, but also there's less efficiency in the body. So then when you start to take care of that, a lot of other positive kind of side effects start to happen. People a lot of times sleep better during the night, but then feel more energy during the day. Um, and body, mind, and spirit are really connected. So a lot of times you just take layers of stress out of the body and you mentally just relax a little bit too. So
yeah.
yeah,
No,
there's
and I love that, doctor. I mean, that interconnectivity that you talk about is something that I like to talk about as well. I mean, this human body, this system is so interdependent, so interconnected. I apologize for that. Thank you, spam. Sorry for that, everybody. But the system is interconnected, and you mentioned a word there that I'd like to touch on for a moment, if you don't mind. You mentioned the efficiency, right?
yeah.
I think what you were talking about was in relation to the nervous system and the way that the body works. Can you expand on that a little bit, and talk to me about efficiency, and what a lack of efficiency can entail in somebody's body?
Yeah. Well, I kind of think of it like a computer, like when you have window upon window upon window open, the computer, its resources are divided so much that it starts to slow down and it doesn't work as well. And our nervous system is kind of like that. If we've got this little pain and that little pain and this problem over here and that problem over there, the nervous system is diverted into so many different directions that then you have less available energy to do good things, to focus on your work, to enjoy your leisure. And when we can clean up a lot of those divergent pathways of irritation and just clear up those irritations and those minor injuries, then the body has more free energy for enjoyment and to focus on the bigger problems, the bigger injuries. We can heal those better when we take care of all of those other littler things that resolve quicker. It's like closing the different windows on the computer and getting things to work in a more streamlined, focused, full of power type of way. So one of the things they sometimes say in seminars is like, turn on the power because you've increased your nervous system's available energy to do the good stuff.
Yeah. It's amazing, right? It's amazing how you're talking about the nervous system affecting so much in the body. When people have a nervous system that isn't working efficiently, you mentioned that it's going to stop them from doing the things that they enjoy potentially, or stop them from becoming this healing machine that the body really can become if you take care of it in a good way. When you see your clients, what kinds of things do they tell you in terms of what their back pain or neck pain is? How does it affect them?
Yeah, sadly, it can be a reason people don't exercise. And as we both know,
Mhm.
exercise is so important. It gives us so much when we exercise, both mentally and physically. And
Mm.
if pain is stopping people from exercise, all of
Mm.
those benefits of exercise they're missing out on. And that's one of the
Mm.
biggest problems right there. But then additionally, when you're enjoying whatever leisure activities, there's usually some physical component, unless it's just like watching movies or something. But if you're going out,
Mhm.
even if you're just going to a museum, you're walking around a lot. If you have grandkids and you're picking them up, or you're picking up your nieces and nephews, so many of the things that we do for fun, it involves some physical exertion, and you enjoy that more when you're feeling better. So I want to get people exercising, and I want to have people walking around the museum and not thinking about their back or their hip or their knee. And that is, I guess, another point you mentioned. Do people come in for neck, back pain, and headaches? Yes, but I do sometimes work with shoulders, knees, hips. Those would be the secondary things. Sometimes wrists or ankles, but shoulders, knees, and hips are a close second that can be helped with
And
alignment and adjustment.
right. And so could it be that knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, could it be that they're affected by what's going on in the spine?
Yeah, because like you
Mhm.
said, the body is an interrelated machine. So definitely that your your gait is affected by your knees and your hips, and then that can translate up into the back. So yeah, and then the way that your posture, for example, doing work, that can affect your shoulder alignment, and then when your shoulder alignment is off, that can affect the middle of the back and also the neck. Like if you're leaning over at a desk, for example, your shoulder
Mm.
can be protracted or too far forward, rotated inward, and your head can be, anteriorly forward, too far forward, forward head carriage. And those kind of things can go together. So we want to address them both when we treat the patient.
Mm. And if you don't address these problems, I mean, where do you see somebody with those types of problems headed in terms of, maybe a protracted shoulder, a forward head posture? I mean, what kind of problems can that lead to, if any?
The biggest is headaches. Forward
Mm.
head carriage is highly linked with headaches, and then protracted or rounded shoulders are linked with forward head carriage. Like they tend to go together, but they will have a side effect of headaches very commonly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so we talked about headaches a little bit. We talked about people potentially not being able to exercise because of their pain problems. And we also
Hmm.
talked about people not being able to enjoy their lives, whether that's walking in the museum or whether that's playing with their grandkids. And so there are these whole host of problems that through stuff like the low force activator, through exercise, it can start to help with. But we also talked a little bit about um, people, pain relief and health without the extremes, right? That's the title of this. I want you to talk a little bit about what it's like. I mean, have you ever met anybody who is doing the extremes, and what is that person's life like?
Mm. Well, there is one close friend of mine who she really does enjoy the more intense workouts, and
Yeah.
she will do different things. She used to like boot camp style workouts, and she's enjoyed CrossFit, and for her, and she did like a boxing type thing that was pretty intense. But for her, I think it's great for her because she's motivated by that. But I just know that that's not for everyone. And it's also just not for me, even though I love it for her because she loves it. But I attended a couple of the classes with her because she just thought it would be fun for me to try it. And it was fun to try it like once, each thing I tried once. But for me, those extremes, it just was more exhausting, and it wasn't so much motivating for me. But that's what I just think makes the world interesting. Because some people are motivated by one thing, and some people are motivated by another. And part of the reason I wrote the book was because I feel like the media and a lot of ads give a lot of attention to the work out until you drop, work out until you can't move, sweat bullets, or you didn't accomplish anything. And I feel like that gets a lot of media hype. And it's not right for everyone. And if it's not right for you, I just wanted to have something out there of what works for me, someone who thinks that's great for someone else. But I love to exercise, but I don't love to kill myself. And I put in some different things that I like to do, and I tried to encourage people to try everything, because the more important thing than the exact exercise you do is to be consistent. Because if you do this perfect routine and then you do it a couple of times a month, that's not nearly as good who someone finds a routine that's pretty good, but does it consistently a few times a week. That person is going to be ahead of the perfect person who only does it here and there when they feel like it. The consistency is the most important thing. And you become more consistent if you find something that you enjoy. So that's the first thing I encourage, is try everything and see what you enjoy. And there's also another thing that's really key, which is there are certain people, there's an author named Gretchen Rubin, and she did a little, she studied people's tendencies, she called it. And there's a large percentage of people who have a tendency to need an outside source of accountability for exercise in particular, which is why people like personal trainers. That's an outside source of accountability. You are holding them accountable, Ahmed. They know they're meeting you. And for people who have that tendency, it's really good to have that source. It also could be a class. If they're signed up for a class, that's an outer accountability source. If they have a workout buddy that they're going to meet and that person is expecting them there, that's an outside accountability source. So finding enjoyment. And then if you know yourself, or if you want to look up Gretchen Rubin and take her quiz and see if it's called an obliger, which is the kind of person who really, really does best to have that other source, then get that in line. Find a buddy, find a trainer, find a class, and then you'll be consistent. And with the consistency, you get all the benefits.
Consistency is key. I love how
Yeah.
open-minded you are, first of all, right? Some people like to take hard lines between do this or do this. And the way that you're talking about it shows me, how you really, first of all, care about people, because you're saying that you want people to do what's best for them. Like with your friend, for example, you mentioned that you like the high intensity stuff for her because she likes it, but it wasn't really right for you, right?
Right.
So there's this huge continuum about what works for people versus what doesn't work for people. Okay, and when you talk about people doing exercise and it just being about consistency, I think that's such a big piece of it, right? The consistency aspect of it. Because the thing with exercise, right, is if you stop doing it, then you don't really get the benefit from it, do you?
Not as much, no. I think any workout, your body is happy. Like anytime you do it, your body is happy. But if you want to see and feel the more lasting changes, then you definitely want consistency. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So do you think that the extremes that is in the media also often, right? This whole idea of work out until you drop, or no pain, no gain. How do you think this messaging is affecting people?
Well, my fear was that people who don't connect with that, the no pain, no gain, and you have to sweat bullets, and if you can't move the next day, that's how it's supposed to be. The people who that doesn't appeal to, my fear is that they would then feel like, well, I'm just not made for exercise, or this isn't for me. I'm someone who doesn't like working out. To have them get discouraged and then to feel like they should just give up. That's what I want to prevent. I just want to prevent anyone from seeing those messages who doesn't connect with them, from feeling like, well, then screw it, kind of. I want to show them like, no, there's so many options for you out there. And if you find something that you love that you can be consistent with, you're going to have all the same benefits. So that person is getting them through the extremes. You can get them through doing, if you love Pilates, if you love hiking with your friends in the woods, if you love, just like group kickboxing classes, like in the air, not combative, let's say, but whatever you like. And it's good to find a few different things too, because then you can rotate them. And then that keeps
Right.
it fresh. So like, for example, I like using the elliptical with a playlist. I do enjoy doing weights. I like doing the weightlifting. I love taking long walks. So I vary it between those things. I like some calisthenics, which I put in the book. So just some basic calisthenics you can do at home. So that just keeps it interesting. So I'm varying between those things, and I like all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the issue, right? If there is this high barrier to entry for people getting into exercise because they're thinking about exercise as this crazy grunt filled sweat dying type activity, then it's not fun, right? And there are businesses predicated on this idea.
Hmm.
Planet Fitness, right? They call it like they have this thing called like a no judgment zone, and that's awesome. But then there's this thing like a no grunt zone, and so there's this whole idea behind exercise and it being almost like a place or like an activity meant for people who are only going to work super hard or people that are only going to crush themselves during the workout. And this is such a big problem because exercise isn't just for the people that want to, kill themselves at the gym, but it's for everybody who wants to get the benefit of exercise, right? Um,
Exactly, exactly. And I just want to remind everyone of some of the benefits that there are the obvious things. It helps the heart health, it helps your breathing capacity, but beyond that, there's so much more than that. Of course, we know it strengthens you, it trims, it tones, um, but it increases endorphins, which reduce pain, and then that helps you to feel good. It has benefits to reduce anxiety, reduce depression, reduce symptoms of ADHD, to improve sleep, to improve self esteem. It also helps you to learn better. There's a protein in the brain called BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor, that increases with exercise. And what it means is that you can better comprehend and remember what you learn. And they've done studies in that. Kids, their grades go up when they're both studying and exercising versus just studying. So it helps you in your mind, it helps you in your body, it helps you in your emotions. So it's like, who wants to pass this up? This is like all the good stuff. So I just would,
yeah,
that's why I don't want anyone to be discouraged. You can find a way that you enjoy it. You can find your workout buddy or your personal trainer like yourself or your class, but do it because there's just too much to miss out on if you don't. And get rid of
yeah.
pain. If that's stopping you, get rid of the pain so that you can be active.
And you're fighting a good fight here, Doc, because it's all the benefits you just mentioned. I mean, if exercise isn't the magic pill, then what is?
Right. It's so
Right?
true. It's so true.
It's it's crazy. And for all of you guys who are watching, I mean, Dr. Cynthia, she walks the walk. She's very toned. She's in great shape. It's really awesome. I saw her a couple of days ago, and I think that what we're talking about here, exercise as one factor, but I also want to connect it to chiropractic, right? I mean, what roles do you see exercise has in chiropractic and vice versa?
Yeah, they're very complementary things. In addition to the pain relief, like we said, if you have chiropractic care to relieve pain, you can become more active and more fit that way because pain isn't holding you back. But additionally, once you're in better alignment, if you're exercising in good form, then you're going to be better able to maintain that alignment. And having better alignment is going to take less stress, is going to put less stress on the nerves, like we discussed before. So you have more efficiency in the body. But then also your posture will improve when your alignment is better. So there's a lot that goes hand in hand. But definitely the way that you train, because you're an excellent trainer and very focused on form and on what is right for that person's body, you're very specialized that way, which is a real gift. If you work with someone who's been adjusted, you're going to really help them to hold and maintain that alignment and feel their best and look their best, both. So it's a
Yeah,
perfect complement.
I appreciate those kind words. I wanted to touch a little bit on this idea again of the extremes, if you don't mind. Is it okay with you?
Sure, whatever you want to discuss.
Okay, because we already talked about how the extremes, or the way that the messaging is surrounding the extremes of exercise, i.e., sweating until you drop, no pain, no gain. How the negative that comes with those extremes is that it deters people from exercise, right? On the opposite end of the spectrum, we're talking about doing exercise that makes sense for people depending on where they're at. You've even mentioned their personality in terms of them being obligers or not. And,
Hmm.
and, and, and so there's this one aspect of the extremes being this really difficult thing and deterring people from exercise. But I want to talk about what's on the other side of that spectrum, right? So if we're talking about extremes as one side of the spectrum, and it deterring people from exercise. In your words, what would be the other side of that spectrum, and what is the effect it has on people?
I just want to clarify. So the other
Please.
end of the spectrum, meaning someone who is exercising without extremes, or someone who is not
Exactly.
exercising, with someone who is but without extreme.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, I actually mentioned that in the book just in case. Like I first encourage people to find out what they enjoy, and I give all kinds of ideas and encourage them to experiment and find something that they love. But if they don't find anything, I wanted to give something really simple that would be good for someone who was just like, I'm not enjoying going to these classes. I'm not, who just felt that was overwhelming even to try a bunch of things. I wanted to give them an option. So that I think is probably the other extreme that you're talking about. So for that type, if you just want to keep everything really simple, I suggested in the book and to everybody, have a pedometer of some kind and just keep on increasing your steps and get creative. Do whatever you take the stairs as many times as you can versus the elevator, park farther away, do extra laps in the mall, like just take extra, go to the farther bathroom if you have to take a bathroom break. Any way you can do it. Look at chores as an opportunity. Household chores are an opportunity to do steps. Does the dog need to go out? I'll do it. Good. More steps for me. Do you want some water? I'll get it for you and for me. I'll go back and forth from the table, clear everything. Do everything is an opportunity. And if you look at it that way, you'll build up your steps up and up and up and up. And then to complement that, I gave a very basic calisthenics workout in the book just to hit the major muscle groups. And even if the person wants to start with 5 minutes a day, if you do 5 minutes a day, that's 35 minutes a week where you've challenged the major muscle groups every day. And even that, for someone who is not challenging the muscle groups, you challenge all of the major groups 5 minutes a day, that makes a difference. You're going to start building some muscle tone in there to complement the walking. And that is, I think, just a great go-to if someone is not interested in classes or the other stuff. It's something you can do without any equipment. The exercises that I give, yeah, you could get a couple of little dumbbells, and if you want one of those resistance bands, but you can do the back exercise even without the resistance band. The dumbbells, it would be nice to have dumbbells just for the bicep curls and the tricep extensions, but it's a very minimal investment there. So it's really basic stuff that anybody could do and benefit from. So I put that in there too.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, most people are surprised at how stimulating muscles can actually have such a big effect on them. And I think again, this comes from that messaging of the extremes being the only thing that is going to make a difference for you and your body, right? You need to only eat clean forever, or else you're not gonna have that body that you want. You're gonna need to exercise 6 times a week, or else you're not gonna have the body that you want, right? And so it's incredible. I love how you're touching on the fact that stimulating the muscles, even if it's 5 minutes a day, can make a world of a difference.
Right, right. So that's always what I put as the starting point. Just these are the major muscle groups. You hit them 5 minutes a day. And then I also certainly leave it open that if someone gets comfortable with that, you can definitely start to add in more sets and more reps gradually.
Sure.
So it's a basic routine that you can amp up over time and to your comfort. But yeah, someone who's not doing any strength training at all, if they up that to 5 minutes a day, that's great.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
step in the direction of health matters. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a huge leap. And science shows that most people, again, nothing is 100%, but most people don't do well with huge changes in their life. They're overhauling their life is not really good for most people, and little incremental changes works for most people.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about sustainability and consistency, you need to find the stuff that works for you. Right?
And you can build slowly. You don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah, building, right? And that's what it's about. I mean, for exercise, we talk a lot about progression and that being the
hmm
key when it comes to exercise, right? And so think
hmm
about this. If you're coming from a place where you're doing 0 minutes of exercise to 5 minutes of exercise, I'm not the best at math, but that's a huge percent increase change, right? So
Right.
it's really important for people out there to kind of get over this idea that you need to do everything at once. It's this all or nothing approach isn't really helping you. And if it is helping you, by all means, all power to you. But if it's not, just start somewhere. And a good place to start
Exactly.
could be looking at these calisthenic workouts that Dr. Cynthia put out here. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the book. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so talk me through you writing this book. What was going through your head before that, during it, and afterwards?
Okay. Well, I had listened. I like podcasts. I had listened to this one podcast that said, define your elevator pitch. If someone asked you, what are you all about? What do you do? And I thought, boy, I never really defined that, did I? So I started thinking about that from that podcast. And I realized, well, I don't respond well to the heavy handed adjustments personally. I don't respond well to the extreme workouts personally. I am a fitness trainer, I am a chiropractor, but I do both in a gentle way. So then the soft health just popped into my mind that I guess I like soft health. I don't like those extremes for me. And for those people who also might feel that way, maybe I should put some ideas together because I've been in practice 22 years now. So I've learned things over the years. And it also feels like when I'm with a patient, I want to tell them so much. I want to tell them all the things about exercise. I want to tell them postural exercises, which I also put in the book. I want to tell them things about the Mediterranean diet because that, in my mind, is the most researched but least stringent and strict of the diets out there. It's been around for centuries and it's got so much research to back up how wonderful it is for you. But it doesn't completely take out food groups. The thing that it's the most limited with is sugars and limited in red meat, but it doesn't say never. And those things are just so known to be bad for you. And trans fats. Okay, so trans fats, meats, and sweets. Those are red meats. Those are the things that it wants the least of. But everything else, it's about the balance and the proportion. And if you're eating mostly the four foundational foods, which is produce and beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, and whole grains, the majority of what you're eating is those things, you tend to do pretty well. And for me, I just try to, it's definitely not keto or anything, but along those lines that of those four things, I would keep the whole grains on the lower side and have more of the produce and more of the legumes and beans, and then kind of medium on the nuts and seeds and medium to low on the whole grains. But those are still the four groups that would take up the majority of my plate. And then the other stuff is complementing, like fish, seafood, low fat dairy. Those are all complements to those base foods. And Yeah, so the Mediterranean diet, I just think it's easier to follow than most of those other diets, and it's more sustainable for me and for anyone who doesn't like cutting out entire groups of food. It's more sustainable. And I'm sorry, I think there might have been something else you wanted me to go into, but I got sidetracked. I was excited about the
No, no,
Mediterranean
I
diet.
mean, no, I mean, it's clearly something that you're passionate about. And you know what? We actually have a question over here. I'll read it to you. First of all, somebody's saying hi to us. I'm sorry, I can't see your name, but hi. And then somebody's asking, how do you feel about consuming nuts in the evening? And then they go on to say, I usually snack on them before bedtime. So they're saying, how do you feel about consuming nuts in the evening? I'll let you have a go with this, Doc, and then if it's okay with you, I'll also have a go with it. Oh, Filippo. Hey, Filippo. All right,
Hello,
go for it.
Filippo. Thank you. Um, Off the bat, yes, they do have some fat, so it just depends how much you're eating. But if it's not a lot, uh, a third of a cup, let's say, or less, it's definitely not a problem in my mind. If it's a third of a cup or less, that's my opinion. But you also have to see how your body feels. Some people, something with a little fat before bed helps them sleep better. Some people, they might get a little bit of indigestion. So you do have to just listen to your body on that. But just in theory, I see no problem with it. And what
Yeah,
about you, Ahmed?
I mean, I'd agree with you in terms of listening to your body when it comes to these kind of things. I mean, ultimately, consuming nuts in the evening, there's so many worse things to consume on in the evening. And I say and I say worse also in relation to your goal, right? Um, Everything that I talk about, whether it's exercise, nutrition, or whatever it is, it has to be in the context of who you are, what is your history with nutrition, and what you want, what you want in terms of your goals. So I know that sometimes that's the boring answer, and people want want closure in terms of what should I do, what should I do. I think if you're snacking on nuts before bedtime, keep doing it. Why not, right? Um, and so okay, so I'd love to get back more on track in terms of the book, because I asked you what were you thinking beforehand, and you said that you found out that the high intensity workouts weren't really working for you. And can you just expand on that a little bit?
Well, just the only real experience I had with it was going with my friend to her classes, and it just didn't light my fire. It felt like I was being told to do things that hurt and to keep going even though I was miserable. So it really, otherwise I didn't seek it out because I kind of knew that it wasn't my thing, but I'm game to try something. So and it was with a friend, so that made it palatable that I was going to go with my friend. And I'm glad I did it because I got a better understanding of how those things are. But it did just make it pretty clear to me that I like how I do things. That just makes me feel better. But it's cool that she's really excited by this. But also now I just remembered how I got all sidetracked. And that in writing the book, I wanted to tell people about the Mediterranean diet when they were in my office, and there's never enough time. When I'm with a patient, there's always what's going on that day, and then you do talk a little bit about personal things, and then you do talk about their body and what's going on, and you give them a recommendation to do at home. But then the time is gone, and I had this whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to share and that I always wished I had more time to say. So that was also part of the motivation of putting it all together in one place with exercises, with stretches, with stuff about diet. I also put some stuff about positive thinking in there because, of course, things come up in life and we get upset, and it's good to have some tools handy. It's like a reference that you could, okay, I could think of it this way or I can do this. So I just wanted to put some handy tools in there that people could refer back to that have all come up at different times with patients, but that there's never enough to say, never enough time to say all of it. So
Never enough
between
time.
that podcast and then wanting to say those things to patients, that got me inspired to write it. And then I've also been an avid reader for years, and I've kept like little cliff notes on my favorite books. And my favorite books have been sometimes on diet or exercise or on positive thinking. And those books were right at the ready with my little cliff notes that then I could include into this manuscript. So that helped things along too.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, you're taking all these different disciplines, whether that's exercise, chiropractic, I mean, nutrition, positive thinking, and you're putting it into this handbook for people who want to live better, right? And for you, when you were talking about like dipping your toes into the extremes, that workout with your friends, you mentioned that you were miserable. You mentioned that you didn't like being told what to do in that workout, and I really appreciate you sharing that, because I'm sure so many people here who are going to watch this and that are watching it now have felt the same exact way, right? And when you feel that way, then you're associating exercise with these horrible feelings, and that's not really going to make you likely to want to do it more, right?
Right, right.
And
And
please.
back to the benefits part of it, I mentioned some of the other things, but I realized I didn't even mention that it helps your immune system. It boosts your immune system short term and long term. So we've heard that it helps prevent a lot of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, things like that. It helps to reduce the prevalence of chronic diseases. But in the short term, too, it boosts the immune system. So with things like flu and COVID, if your immune system also in the short term is boosted, you've got better resistance to all the crazy bugs that are out there. So that's even another benefit that we didn't touch on earlier. But it is, like you said, it's like the magic pill is to exercise. So it's just so important to find things that you enjoy and to not get discouraged if something that works for someone else doesn't work for you. There'll be something that works for you. And even if that's just counting your steps and getting creative on how you can sneak them in and see it as a game. It's a game to figure out what you can get up and do, and laziness becomes unappealing because hey, you can bump up that number when you get up and do the next thing that you were thinking, no, yeah, I'll do it. Then you get your numbers up.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanna ask you a little bit of a personal question here, okay? So was
Okay.
there ever a point in your life where you felt like you were a bit lazy with exercise?
I would say no, and the reason is because for me, I am definitely a type A personality, and when I exercise, it calms my mind. So it is as much mental as physical for me, and I I value that. Another thing that I find really helpful as far as motivation that might help other people is I think of exercise in two different helpful ways. Me time is one, we time is the other. So if it's me time, it's when I work out on my own and I'm unplugged. I'm not, don't have the phone. I'm not accessible. That is time for me. I'm not responsible for anyone else. I'm not in my role of employee or boss or spouse, or I'm not in a role of anything. It's just time to take care of my body, to think of what exercises I'm going to do that will feel right for me. So it's very personal, valued quiet time, kind of to just think about the exercise or just let my mind relax. So it's really valuable. It's something I look forward to. But on the other hand, there can also be we time with exercise. Sometimes I will plan to take a nice walk with a close friend or family member, and we can either walk in neighborhoods or we might go to a pretty local venue, a nice park or beach. And then you're walking and talking, and the time is going, and the steps are accruing, and you guys are enjoying each other's company and getting fit together, getting some fresh air. So I find me time and we time incredibly motivating for exercise. And I love using both. So I encourage
Mm.
people to think of it in that way too. But yeah, I've never slacked from it because it just helps me so much in a mental and emotional way that I'm just motivated by that.
Yeah. And you have what sounds like a specific routine. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding that correctly, but I mean, for you to have this me time and put that into your days, I mean, how's it worked for you?
Well, if I'm doing a solitary type of exercise, the ways that I would do solitary is I could go to the gym and weightlift, and I don't do always the same thing. There are a lot of different exercises that I've learned over the years. I am a certified fitness trainer as well as a chiropractor, so I learned the very basics from my dad, which was wonderful. When I was a teenager, he showed me around a world gym, and I learned all the basics from him. And then I expanded on that later when I became a fitness trainer to learn a few more details in that area. And I've learned a lot of exercises that I rotate between when I'm working out in the gym. So I'll just make it different just to engage my mind, and then I'm thinking about the exercises and what order I'm going to do them in, and I'm not worrying about whatever else I'd be fretting about. I'm just thinking about, oh, let me do this machine next. Okay, am I going to do slow reps or am I going to do quicker reps? Am I going to do a lower weight with more reps or am I going to do a little bit of a higher weight with fewer reps? I'm thinking about that and it's calming all of the other anxieties. Another way that I might work out alone is, yes, I walk with friends and family, but sometimes I walk alone and then I just focus on nature. I go somewhere and I see pretty things and then I'm thinking about that. I'm seeing the flowers or I'm seeing the homes, the trees, and I'm seeing the beauty. And that also is taking me out of all the circular, ridiculous thoughts. And a third thing that I like to do to exercise on my own is I would do some of the calisthenics like that I put in the book, that type of basic stuff, and put on a podcast in the background. And then I've got something that I'm listening to. My mind is learning something because these home exercises I've done so much for so long that I don't really have to think about it. So I can be doing some push-ups and listening to the podcast. I can do some squats and I'm listening. I can do some biceps curls and some triceps presses and just hear the wisdom of the podcast. And that's valued time. So that's how I would do solitary type workouts.
And it sounds like you're not miserable while you're doing it.
Not at all. The podcast is I pick podcasts special that I like, so that's a treat. I'm choosy with them and I pick what I like and then I know I'm going to enjoy it. And at the gym, like I said, I enjoy the feeling, like the whole body feels so good after. So that, and then when I'm doing it, if I'm varying what I'm doing and seeing, okay, well, that area is crowded, I'm going to go over here. Like there's little things to think about to make the workout go smoothly. And then before you know it, after I've done all the major muscle groups, my mind is calm and my body feels good. It's been worked.
Your body and your mind all feeling good after exercise. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Listen, I wanna take a couple of minutes to ask you if you have any kind of words or any thoughts that you'd like to tell our audience here today. I mean, it's been awesome talking to you throughout all this time. I mean, is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of what you're doing, where people can find you, and everything like that?
Oh, thank you, Ahmed. And it's been great talking with you too. I know we're of similar mind, to try to help people. And we both want to do what we can to make people feel better and live healthier. And it's great to be a team with you. So thank you for everything. I guess a last little thing that I can put in is just remember not to feel like you have to take on everything at once. And habits can be formed. Habits are more powerful than willpower. And I'm not even making that up. That was studied and researched. They did studies on self-control. There's an author named Wendy Wood, and she's one of the people I quote in the book. And they studied self-control, and self-control really was not about willpower, they found. It was that people who scored high in self-control were good at forming habits that linked with their goals. So when you make something part of your life, it's your default choice. You don't have to keep thinking and choosing over and over again. If it's a habit, it's an automatic choice. And that keeps you on target with your goals and would make you score high in self-control. And willpower is not even, it's not even an issue. So if you make it a point to form habits that are in line with your goals, and I do, in the section on habits in the book, I explain the researched ways that it's easiest to form habits. If you start forming habits in line with your goals and you use those cues, then it's going to be much easier for you to do the things that are good for you. So I just encourage people to get good habits. And again, I have details in the book, but as far as just a quick overview, make something easy for you. Like have a little area in your house where you have your dumbbells or your resistance bands and have something to play music all right there, or podcast or whatever. Get your pedometer so that it's easy to check your steps. If you like the classes or the personal trainer, sign up for it, get a package, make it something that is a time that you can do, make it right after work, right before work, whatever. But get it turnkey into your life. And then you've got self-control and you're going to see results because you've made it part of your life. So that's my last thing to say. And if people want to find me, my website is the best way. And it looks like you put that down there. So that's wonderful. It's my name, Cynthia Hay, dcpc.com. And there's a little menu bar with, it looks like a square with little lines at the top left. And if you click that, there's different pages that you can go to. The publications page has the book. It has the soft health right there. And that is on the publications page. It's also on Amazon. So you could also find it on Amazon.com, and you could search my name, Cynthia Hay, on Amazon, and you'll find it there. So those are the ways to reach me.
Awesome. Yeah. So in closing, you basically mentioned for people to try to do what they can to create habits by making those habits, whether that's their environment or whatever it is, making it easier for them to change those habits so that they can make the changes that they want in their lives and reach the goals that they want so that they can live a better life. And the final thing that I want to touch on is you were so generous. I mean, loaning me this book. You told me that I can hand it out to any of my clients who are interested in it. Is that still true? Can I do that?
Definitely. Yeah. It's like your copy that you can loan to your clients on like a library loan. They can use it for a couple of weeks, whatever, glean what they can from it, return it to you, and then you can loan it to your next client. So it'll be a resource for you and any of your clients who would like to learn whatever they want from it, and then they can take their tips and then return it to you for the next person.
Thank you so much for your generosity, Dr. Cynthia. This has been awesome. Find Dr. Cynthia at www.cynthiahaydcpc.com. Everybody, have a great rest of your night and have an amazing weekend. Thank you, Dr. Cynthia. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.